The mission of Colonial Williamsburg is that the future may learn from the past. And this is such a wonderful way to do that, to be able to walk around, to see things, but to also be able to touch things and smell things and hear things. What's so beautiful about my time here that I did not expect is that it really is everywhere. It's even underfoot. Like the gravel that's on the ground here is the historically accurate version of what the gravel would be, ground up oyster shells, because shells, the ocean is not far away and oysters would have been consumed, shellfish, and all those shells are ground up and just laid on the ground. Something that I have not seen before. It's so wonderful to be here and to walk into the trade shops and to see these trades being kept alive and being practiced at such a high level, but then also the levels of going from master to a journeyman and then apprentice, keeping that tradition alive. It's really wonderful and it's inspiring to see. I've just really enjoyed every aspect of being here. I'm here with Lynn Zelelesnikar, who is the master engraver at Colonial Williamsburg. Lynn, how long have you been doing this to become a master?
It's been a while. I've been here almost 30 years.
Wow.
Very close, yeah.
Well, we just came from the Silversmith shop.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you what I told them. When I was 14, 16 years old, I took $100 of my birthday money and I went to an antique store and I bought a fork that was made in Dublin in the 1790s. And I made a pledge to myself that I was going to slowly start collecting piece by piece my own flatware set. And when I moved out from my parents' house, I would have a set, and that's what I accomplished.
Excellent.
So all my forks, all my spoons are made between the 1790s and the 1850s in London, out of silver, and most of them are engraved.
Of course.
So to go from the silversmith to the engraver is just a thrill, and I've just wondered, like, how is it done? It's completely by hand?
Yeah.
With a little tool?
Little tool. It's called a Burin. Let me grab one of those.
Is this where you work?
This is one of those areas we work. We're going to work really close to the window. We need a lot of light for this.
Yep.
And we're going to have to be able to see very clearly what we're doing. That is called a Burin, right? So that is a very sharp piece of steel. Goes in the palm of the hand and it's gently pushed through that metal. So they're very chisel-like looking tools. There's different shapes, different angles to those, but all of those are going to be used slightly differently in how we're going to dig out a small amount of that material. Now, from the inception of this trade, it's been around for quite some time, about 1430. And so by the era we're portraying, the 1770s, this is well practiced.
I see.
And this is one of those trades, it doesn't change a whole lot.
Right.
It actually stays quite the same.
So your tools are really, like, you don't need heavy machinery or
No,
anything.
it's pretty simple. I need a good pair of eyes.
Yep.
Sometimes as we get older, we need a little extra eyes.
Yes. Yeah.
A good hand at drawing. That is going to be the key to a lot of this. And the Burin itself, and then a way to just hang on to stuff. So this is it. This is all I need to engrave just about anything.
So yeah. I have been practicing calligraphy.
Oh, excellent.
Since I was a kid, and I started my own business doing calligraphy. And one of the things I learned over the years was the importance of a fluid stroke.
You got it.
And especially when you're doing a beautiful letter, if there's a hiccup, anyone can see the hiccup.
You bet.
Now, here's the difference. If I do it in chalk, which is most of what I do on a chalkboard, you just erase it and start over. If I do it in ink, it's on paper, and I'm not happy with it, I rip it up and start over.
Right.
So this is what fascinates me about looking at my forks and my spoons. There's a beautiful M, and it's so fluid.
You got
Do those strokes need to be done in one go?
No, thank goodness. In a way, it's more of a challenge. It takes a little longer. So we're going to start off like you would with calligraphy. We're gonna draw these things out. We're going to sketch them out, and we're going to look to give ourselves a pattern of that fluid line. Now, to execute that one fluid line, that might take you 1 or 2 strokes. It could take 5, 10, 15 different cuts. but I have to imitate what you do and have that seamlessness. Yeah.
Can we play a game?
Absolutely.
I'm posing a challenge, but this has not been planned. So if this is not going to
No,
work,
it's
tell
all
me.
good.
Can I write a letter?
Yeah.
And could you
To
show
engrave
us
it?
how you would engrave it? Please?
Absolutely.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah. Let me grab a piece of paper.
Please, thank
all right.
you. So we have an M.
You would do well. Good penmanship.
Thank you. And as the engraver, like just say someone brought you something like this, would you look at it and say, actually, I could tweak that to make it look better?
We can.
Yes.
And sometimes we offer.
Yep.
But a lot of times, especially if somebody's bringing us something, a signature,
Yep.
where we need to produce that facsimile, it's got to be a one-to-one exact.
Yep.
Sometimes preserving the quirks are what folks want.
Right.
So if you brought me a signature of someone that was dear to you,
Yep.
we want to keep those quirks in there. So it's a bit of both.
Okay.
All right. So first thing I'm going to do, and actually I'm going to white this really quickly, and then we'll let this dry. This is just a piece of pewter. Polished metal is not going to give us a great surface to draw on. We take a good chance of scuffing that. And especially if we're working on something that's finished, we have to protect that surface.
Oh.
So to get my impression of what you've done on there, I'm going to put this watercolor on there, and we're going to let that dry for a moment. And once that dries, we'll have a good surface to draw on. Because this will dry with enough texture, it'll take a pencil mark really nicely. All right, that's going to take a second.
Do people come in, like actually today, do they walk into the shop like members of the public and order things?
They do sometimes. And a lot of the work that we get from our silversmiths, most of that is custom order work.
Okay.
So someone can still... Best practice for us is to not demonstrate the trade. We want to actually practice and produce in this trade. And that's going to give us a much better preservation of the trade if it's in practical approach to it. And also, too, it gives us a different feel to it. It's not just something we're doing so somebody gets a sense of what we're doing. It's important to someone. It's sentimental. It's something that's unique for them. And if they've especially gone to the silversmith, they've gotten something very unique, very special.
So you actually want commissions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I have a commission for you.
Right.
I need a plaque for my harp. Because I call
yeah.
I call her Annie Laurie, and I've always thought it would be beautiful to have a little brass plaque that says Annie Laurie.
Yeah.
And I put little screws in.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll send a little commission.
We're ready.
Okay, great. I can see it drying.
It's getting there. Takes a moment. Okay, let's start with your M. Now we can approach this two ways. We can either I'll do my impression of what you've done.
Yep.
Or if we really wanted to make sure that this was identical, we, much like an artist would approach it today, we might take a very thin onion skin paper, do a light tracing off of this, create carbon paper, lay the carbon paper down, then put that impression down and trace through, right? So these things don't change a whole lot in many years. But let's see if I can get very close to what you've done. Now, if this is something where we really want to stress, if it's inscription, we're going to do a lot of letters together. We might put down guidelines, you know, because certainly we are going to map this out very well. But let's see if I can get close to what you've got here. I'm going to do a really, really light. Usually we tend to kind of start with those weights. Right? That's pretty close. I don't have quite as much lean as you've got.
I like your better than mine.
Well.
Yours looks more 18th century.
So let's...
Suited for a piece of silver, actually.
So let's make this permanent. I'm going to take a steel point. And let's make this...
Sorry.
Yeah, it's just a steel scribe.
So the whole thing is steel.
Just sharpened like a pencil.
To give you traction, right?
I've got a little bit of cloth to the end of it just to give something more to hold on to and give a little comfort there. And we're not going to go after this real hard. I'm going to do a real fine little scuff here. And it's going to be a little shaky, but we want it light enough that if we're not super satisfied, when we go to cut it, we can buff that area out very easily. Now, pewter's really impressionable. Pewter's a pretty soft metal here. So we're going to take that out. And you're going to see a very, very ghosty image here of your M.
Oh, yeah.
You see that?
Oh, wow. So it just required a very light.
Very light. Yeah, we don't want to go after it too heavy. Now, choosing the tool you want, that's a tricky one. And the workhorse of an engraver's tool is what's called a square tool. So I'm going to show you two different ones because they're just about the same. That is a square piece of steel. The broad face that you're seeing here is at about a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to turn this over, and the part that rides against the metal, you're looking at about 15 degrees on each side. If you think of it, it kind of looks like the bottom of a boat.
Yeah.
Right? So that is what's going to ride against the metal, and that's what's going to help us pull up just the tiniest little bit of metal.
Wow.
And these tools, it doesn't matter the metal. We're going to use the same tools. Some of those angles may change depending on what we're working on shape-wise, but the adjustment is in the hand. How do I approach it? I know pewter is going to be pretty soft. It's going to be a pretty relaxed metal to work in. Silver is going to have a lot more tension in it. Mm-hmm. Copper is going to feel a lot like silver. We're going to have gold, which can be some of the softest metal we work with, but it also can be some of the hardest metal depending on the alloy.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So the engraver has to make the adjustment in the approach. Now, I've got a set of sandbags here. We're going to build our work up to us, and that's going to give us the comfort we need. And it's also going to allow us some movement. I'm going to actually add a small one.
What's in here?
A little bit of oil.
Okay.
So that's just a rag, and it's soaked in a little bit of oil of wintergreen, which gives just enough, like a piece of machinery. We want it to move smoothly through that metal. Because where you've got that nice, clean one stroke with a pen, I'm not going to be able to continue a one stroke quite as easily. I have to give that illusion. So this is going to help me kind of slide those lines together.
I see.
Nice and neat. So I'm going to start with the back side of this M. We've got a little bit of a push. And my left hand's going to guide the metal towards the tool. My right hand's going to push through. I'm going to leave that there.
Oh my! I mean, that was a fluid stroke.
So we're going to pick that back up in a moment. I'm going to work on the weight first. So I'm going to go back in the initial cut. I'm going to push that out just slightly. And to create the weights where you would take the nib and sort of give it a light turn, I'm going to have to imitate that with a technique we call threading. So we're going to little by little, line by line, just lightly bring that out. All right, let me get a little more oil here, and we're going to clean that end up. Okay, so here's your weight.
Wow.
I'm going to pick back up where we dropped off here. And we're going to roll this right around. So much like some trades, the engraver's trade, it's a quiet one. It's a lot of patience. We want to blend those lines the best we can to get a nice clean image there. Now, what we would call your hairlines, we're just going to be real gentle with that and watch towards the end. It's kind of like driving. We're going to follow that line up. Try to anticipate that end and get a good blend. Now, we might want to add a little oomph to that.
Okay.
Okay. So let me.
I love the hairlines.
The hairline. Oh,
it's the script with the nib.
That nice thin, pretty lines. All right. Let's find a good flat. Now, to test the sharpness of these, often I will take that and just lightly tack that to my nail.
Yeah.
If it grabs like a little fish hook, we're good. If this scoots off of there, We've got a tip that's lost its sharpness.
Oh.
Okay. Now, when we do go to sharpen these, we would lay that on a flat stone and run that across, almost like you would a chisel.
Okay.
Right? So again, a little bit of oil on that. I'm going to go back in the very top here. Let's give that a little bright, slightly heavier cut there.
Wow.
Tiny,
Yeah.
but it makes a difference. So again, a letter where you might take several strokes.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to break this up a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's go back down. And we know this is going to be a weighted line. Now, one of the things we get asked often is what happens to all this metal? If you were in the Silversmith, you might have noticed their flooring.
Yes.
That grid work. Oh, thank goodness we don't have the grid work. But we do want to be cautious with this material. If we figured if this was silver we're cutting in the 18th century, that is quite valuable. And that will add up over time. So what we would do is at the end of the project, we're going to wipe this bench down. And all the little bits of metal are going to be collected. Let's get that little burr off of there. And we're going to go right back in. Now, you would ask, what happens? What happens if we misstep? What happens if we cut the wrong thing? That metal's gone.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. So, key to this, of course, is going to be don't make the mistake. That's easier said than done sometimes. So, once that absence is there, we can't fill that. So if you're lucky enough to get a little creative with a weight, or if it's ornamental work, you might be able to cover a little bit. But that, again, might not be possible. So a repair in here is going to be pretty lengthy, and it potentially could be very, very expensive. We're going to have to wear that metal down to the lowest part of that incision, and then we're going to have to blend that out. So a cut that might be so small actually could be something that we're going to have to work at for hours and hours to get that where we don't see that anymore.
I can't believe what I just witnessed.
Yeah.
Because I know what this requires of the fluidity of the hand, and my M.
It's pretty close.
Your M is stunning. Your M looks like those 18th century letters on my flatware. You can just feel it. It's so that letter is singing. Mm-hmm. It really is, and it's dancing.
Absolutely.
And you can see it and you can feel it. And the thing about a dance or a song is the most beautiful ones are when they just glide.
That's it. Effortless.
They glide in, and then even when they come to an end, they come to a very elegant glide. And from here just all the way through to the end, it's like one glide. And I had no idea how this was done. I didn't know it was broken down like that.
There you go. So I take what you do in that nice, clean fluid, and I have to imitate it.
Yeah.
And hopefully imitate it so we don't see those extra lines and the stopping and starting.
Yep.
So what might take something, a few minutes to just write in traditional handwriting, penmanship, we have to take some extra there. And it could take several minutes, could take several hours. Some of the projects we work on take several months.
This was what the sort of question mark for me was, because I know what is required from my hand in order to make it feel like a dance is I can't stop.
Right. And
I just wondered, well, how do you do this without stopping? And you're disguising the stops.
We have to disguise it.
And I think the disguise comes from the confidence and the experience, the 30 years of doing it so that you're in complete control. Mm-hmm. Like I could just see as you were even turning this piece of metal, there was no bump or wiggle or hesitation. That is stunning, Lynn. That is incredible to see.
Hopefully you won't see the effort in it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's where the beauty comes from.
But it takes a lot of years to get there.
Of course.
Apprentices in the 18th century would train very young, 13, 14-year-olds coming in, and they're working on penmanship. This is a trade where a lot of artistry, a lot of drawing is involved, and that part, it's usually in you. We just have to craft it and move that into an engraver's look and an engraver's mindset on how to produce not just lettering, but ornamental work as well.
I should explain to anyone watching that the origin of like this, even just this letter form, comes from the quill, and the quill would have been cut and then dipped in ink. And the beauty of these letters is that when the quill is going up, it's creating a thin line, and when the quill is coming down, slight pressure is applied to the quill, and the quill opens up and releases more ink, which creates what's called a swell. And then at the bottom, the swell, the pressure is released, and as you're lifting the quill up, there's another thin line. On all the downstrokes, slight pressure is applied so that the quill opens up and more ink comes out. And it's the contrast between these hairlines, the thin hairlines, and the swells, the thicker parts, that creates this beautiful effect to the letters. So it's very calculated. This isn't just random thick and thin. Let's put some thick over here, or let's put thin over there. It's technical. So to translate that into metal is just incredible. Well, Lynn, that was just incredible to see the whole thing. I'm just blown away by what goes on here in these shops.
Well, we're glad to share it with you.
Well, I'm going to share it with them and encourage anyone who's intrigued to make their way down to Colonial Williamsburg, walk around and come visit Lynn. And if you have something that needs to be engraved, this is how you keep this going. Bring your stuff here and actually place a commission. Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you
for
coming. Good to meet you.
You too.